It was a Christmas tragedy because the day after Christmas in 1996, JonBenet Ramsey was reported missing. Now, JonBenet comes from a wealthy household. Her parents are rich, they're attractive. JonBenet was not only a kindergartner, which is so sad to imagine she was killed at such a young age, but also a child beauty queen, which makes me question. I mean, back in 1996, the internet wasn't like in full force, like along with social media. Of course, there were predators out there, and I feel like a child beauty pageant, a beauty queen, is that how these creeps used to get to their victims back then? I mean, when this became a story, the media took these glamour shots of JonBenet, plastered them everywhere, and it was a sensation because people could not imagine a monster going after this little girl and then not even being caught. Let's go back to December 26, 1996, where JonBenet was murdered. Her mother, Patsy, called 911 at 5:52 a.m. to report her daughter missing from the home. JonBenet lived with her mother, Patsy, her father, John, and her brother, Burke. Burke was only 9 years old at this time, so his little sister, they just had Christmas. They're probably all still so excited, and they're probably on like vacation if they're even going to school. I mean, they said kindergartner, so she was in school at this point. They're all back home. The family is home. Patsy wakes up and she makes this 911 call, and I want you guys to listen to it very closely.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hi, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left and our daughter's gone. A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter? 6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old. How long ago was this? I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's dead. Okay, what's your name? Are you Patsy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God! Please. I'm sending an officer over, okay? Please. Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't. Please, we just got out and she's right here. Oh my God, please.
So we all heard Patsy bring up this note, which we will get into, but I think her reaction is pretty valid. I mean, it's definitely dramatized, but like knowing myself, I mean, if my dog had gotten loose and lost and there's a way for me to call, I probably would sound that way too. So I'm as a drama king, something I will, not proudly claim, but I will acknowledge. But it's something I would react to in the same manner, especially seeing this note. So it's not even like, oh, my daughter's oddly missing. We've got this mysterious note to go along with it. Patsy, a former pageant queen herself, told authorities she found a handwritten ransom note on the stairs demanding $118,000, which is interesting because that amount looked familiar to Patsy. It's the exact amount of money that her husband had earned as a bonus. So how convenient. This person, whoever wrote this note, must have known this money was coming in. Let's read this note together. Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions in this letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attached to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I'll call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Now, this straight up sounds like organized crime. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for a proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police or FBI, will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned, we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us, follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. John Victory, SBTC. Clearly, the note is disturbing. There are so many factors to it, so much information here to analyze. But I mean, my first take is that these people are very organized. If they are organized at all, they're very vindictive and they do not like John. And it looks like they also are trying to play some money game with him by involving his daughter, which is just so horrific. I can't imagine how her last moments would feel. Here's a clip of Patricia talking a little bit about that moment, realizing her daughter was missing.
I couldn't read the whole thing. I just gotten up. We were it was the day after Christmas, and we were going to go visiting. And it was quite early in the morning, and I had gotten dressed and was on my way to the kitchen to make some coffee. And we have a back staircase from the bedroom areas, and I always come down that staircase, and I'm usually the first one down. The note was lying across the 3 pages across the run of one of the stairs, dimly lit, because it was very early in the morning. And I started to read it, and it was addressed to John. It said, "We have your daughter." It just wasn't registering. I don't know if I got any further than that.
Now, I can understand why Patsy is in this state of shock. I mean, her daughter is gone. She got this letter. I totally understand that half awake feeling. I mean, I've even gotten like, those text messages in the morning where you're like half awake. You're like, oh, I can barely respond. But then you do. And then a couple hours later, you're like, damn, what was I thinking? Or, you just don't even have your head in the right space. So I feel like reading like your daughter's gone, maybe connecting that your daughter is gone by checking, it would lead to probably a 911 call. I don't think I would have time to really even think about like what they're saying, don't contact authorities and such, because I would go into that immediate shock, immediate like, let's figure out where she could be. Now, despite an initial search on the house, JonBenet's body wasn't found until after 1 p.m. by her father, after police asked him to sweep the home again. She had been beaten and strangled. Now, the crime scene was initially treated as a kidnapping, not a murder. Multiple people were in and out of the house, and there wasn't any intention to preserve the scene. So, like, thumbprints, if possibly like she fought back and had scratched this person and like they had bled, like no, there's going to be not an easy way to determine like what is evidence and what's not evidence when we've had people in and out and in and out, and now her body's in the basement. How does that happen? In the days after the murders, JonBenet's family willingly submitted DNA samples to investigators. A CBI report completed on the 15th of January 2007, an unredacted copy of which is found in a new book by former Colorado Sheriff John Wesley Anderson, appears to show genetic markers from an unknown male, which may have served to exclude the Ramseys and members of their inner circle. Now, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but this is a crucial piece of information which we'll talk about in our following segment. Essentially, there's some DNA that was found on JonBenet Ramsey's body around her waistband, and this DNA did come from a man, but because genetic testing back then wasn't as advanced, they weren't able to determine how this could affect the case. Here's a clip of Dr. Phil talking a little bit about the implications of rerunning this DNA 10 years later after we've made some advancements in technology.
There was DNA evidence that was taken from a blood spot in the underwear and on the waistband of JonBenet's leggings, and that was determined to be from an unknown male and does not match any of the Ramseys. It could not be them. Then there was touch DNA, which was tested in 2008. The technology did not exist to test for touch DNA back when the crime actually committed. That technology wasn't available and wasn't tested for until 2008.
Before we get ahead of ourselves, let me take you back to 1996 to the days following JonBenet's body being found. Now, on the 29th of December 1996, the family flew to their former hometown of Atlanta. JonBenet's body was laid to rest in Georgia on New Year's Eve. Her grave is right beside that of her older half-sister Elizabeth, who unfortunately died in a car accident in 1992, which would have been when JonBenet was just 2 years old. So this family has gone through a lot of tragedy. The parents decide to to speak on New Year's Day 1997, starting this year without their daughter, and with a public interview on CNN. At the time, local police were ensuring the community that there was no killer at large, which is bizarre to think about. This girl was just brutally murdered, but there's no killer out there. Then how would the girl be brutally murdered? Patsy disagreed, saying there is a killer on the loose. If I were a resident of Boulder, I would tell my friends to keep your babies close to you. There's someone out there. Patsy continued, America is suffering because they have lost faith in the American family. We are Christian, God-fearing family. We love our children. We would do anything for our children. But their interview was not well received by the police, who sent 5 detectives to Atlanta. Police reportedly were shocked that the family had claimed that they were too emotional to be interviewed by investigators, but were able to do a CNN sit-down interview, which I kind of get that. I mean, the police are probably like, wait, what the hell? Like, the parents are grieving and they can't even talk to us about this case, but they can go on to CNN and talk to the world. So they saw right through this like kind of facade. And again, I mean, the parents are going through something really intense. Maybe they're not thinking the most clearly, but I also can't imagine not working with police to try to figure out who this man is. I mean, clearly they are going after John in particular. So if they're going after John, then would they go after their son? It just seems like there's a lack of concern by not cooperating with police. Though I am someone that can acknowledge that there are a bunch of agencies out there that are corrupt, and if this letter was accurate and they are familiar with law enforcement, then maybe the police aren't going to be helpful. Here's a clip from their interview with CNN.
When you return to Boulder, you will sit down with the Boulder police?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We want them to know everything possible.
Everything.
That can help them.
Whatever they want, whatever anyone wants, we will cooperate.
It's a mystery at this point. Do you truly think the perpetrator will be found?
One of the detectives asked me and my friend who was there to go through every inch of the house, see if there's anything that was unusual or abnormal that looked out of place, asking us to do that more to give us something to do to occupy our mind. And so we started in the basement, and we're just looking, and I hope that she was still okay, but I could tell that she probably wasn't. I screamed and carried her upstairs.
Now, the Ramseys aren't shy when it comes to the media, and they are determined to seek justice for JonBenet, which I think is pretty admirable. Actually, months later, they decided to put up a reward for $100,000, that money that they were being pretty much threatened for in that letter, for someone to give them some information so they could find this killer. And they reiterate that they are determined to find this person. It's just really sad to think that they never do.
Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey, what do you want to say to the killer of your daughter?
We'll find you. We will find you. I have that as a sole mission for the rest of my life.
Mrs. Ramsey?
Likewise, the police and investigators have assured us that this is a case which can be solved. You know, you may be eluding the authorities for a time, but God knows who you are, and we will find you.
Thank you for watching this clip from the Let's Get Into It podcast. To view the full episode, visit the link listed below.